it's that time we look forward to every week, Dr. Angel.
Yes, we do.
Time for our Go Yard show, which means hitting a home run in life, and that is so cool week after week. What's what we're talking about? Changes in our lives to make us live the Go Yard life.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people are not living the Go Yard life right now.
Well, YouTube is not right now because Tommy, our engineer, is saying that it is stuck. So if some of you are trying to get in on YouTube, keep trying. He's trying to fix it, but we are live on Facebook on your page, right?
And yours.
Oh, and mine. Okay, but not Go Yard.
But not Go Yard.
We'll move it over there later. So you can check us out live right there. And also you can always check on shows that you've missed right by going here to tantalknetwork.com, go to podcasts, and go to Go Yard, the name of the show. So because there's a lot of times that people are busy and they forget to tune in, and then they say, how do I catch some of those shows I missed? So
absolutely,
we've got a lot of them on our website, but we're not caught up. I just checked today, and I'm way behind right now.
Okay.
So, but we do have a lot of shows on our website, just not recent ones.
Okay.
So, goyard2014.org. Why would they want to go there?
They would want to go to the website because, first of all, we have almost 6 years of shows on the website, and they're all titled, so you kind of get an idea of the topic of the show. So when you're dealing with that specific topic or problem or situation, you can get some great tools to help you get through.
Yes. And so I'm Mama Mac, and you're who? Who are you?
I'm Dr. Angel.
I just never can remember.
I'm having identity crises all the time, you know.
Are you? Okay. So you are a licensed mental health counselor and psychologist, and in practice now for a little over a year, and it is booming beyond your wildest dreams.
It is booming beyond my wildest dreams. Yeah,
does that
absolutely.
mean there's a lot of people in need of help?
It does mean that for sure.
Yeah, but that's okay, right? Because a lot of people are in need for help that don't ever go find it, right?
Yes. And I am so glad that people are reaching out for help. You know, there's historically been a huge stigma when it comes to mental health.
Yes.
And a lot of people are very avoidant of reaching out when they need it. And
don't you think that's changing, that stigma? I mean, more and more people are willing to really talk about what's bothering them. I hope that's the case. That's what I feel is the case.
I believe it is changing, and I'm watching it changing, especially through COVID. I think this has really leaped us into some of that change because everybody is experiencing higher levels of stress and anxiety and change, and our whole worlds are being rocked, and it overwhelms our capacity to cope at times.
It does.
And we do need help. And what I'm also seeing is more men coming into counseling.
That's interesting too. That's great. Interestingly, with all that's happened here, I was looking at my notes. When did we start that COVID series? It was mid-March.
Yes.
When things got super crazy and things began to lock down. And we started a series called Coping with the COVID Calamity.
Yes, we did.
And a lot of C's right there. Coping with the COVID calamity. That is not on our website yet. I hope it will be. I'll get time sometime this summer to get that taken care of. But it is here on podcast at tantalknetwork.com. Yes. All 11 or 12 shows.
We ran it for several months because it kept changing as everything was changing.
Which prompted the next series that this is part 4 tonight and the last one of Coping with Change.
Yes.
So how did that grow from that? How did that happen? Because we don't plan that. It just kind of happens.
No, absolutely. You know, we're all living the COVID calamity. So we kept taking the new topic of what we were seeing with what was going on in people's world and how to cope week by week. Right. And it literally was sometimes a day by day change. And then coming into change, I mean, things were changing as things were opening up, and there's new ways of having to do past ordinary tasks. We don't do them the same way anymore.
Right.
Just like this morning when I stopped to the gas station to get my very, very large cup of coffee, they weren't letting anyone in who didn't have a mask.
Aha.
And so people were really upset because they were like, it was really early this morning. So
but you had a mask.
Oh, of course I had a mask.
Of course. Because you abide by the rules.
I do abide by the rules. But, so there's still all this change happening, change in employment, change in relationships, change with our kids, change is all around us right now.
Yeah, we want to talk about kids today, but we also want to talk about just how are you evaluating all these changes in your life? Are you thinking that they've been good? I'm sure there's some that have been good, some that have been very difficult. We will take people calling in if you want to. Tommy is right there by the phone, 727-441-3000. You can call in if you'd like to comment on how these changes of the last 3 or 4 months have affected you and are still affecting you. I'll give you that number again, 727-441-3000. You know, we've done 3 shows on coping with change. And here we are. We're going to wrap this up right now. And, you know, for now, we'll see see what next week
See
brings.
what life brings.
Right? We never know. But just when we thought things were calming down, we had bent the curve across the nation, etc. We're not at that same place right now as we were 2 weeks ago.
No, we are not.
Again, change.
Again, change. And again, big change. And which leaves a lot more uncertainty now for what, you know, next month will hold, or when school starts will hold. And, you know, and when we have change brings a lot of anxiety with it.
Well, and speaking of that, I have a niece that's a kindergarten teacher, and they're already saying what they're going to be doing, and there's some drastic changes.
Yes.
Going to be in school. I mean, it's going to be very different, and I think probably also very stressful in a lot of ways. Don't you think?
Sure, because it will be a new way of having to do ordinary things.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it will be stressful and anxiety producing for a lot of people.
And the parents that are not even comfortable sending kids to school, there's going to be some of those.
There's a lot of those. From what I've heard and talking, a lot of families are trying to figure out how we will balance homeschooling now from this going forward this school year.
Yeah. And with that, I mean, the things that have happened to us as a nation and, of course, around the globe, but as far as just our daily routines have changed so drastically than back in February or January of this year. It's like it's not even the same culture.
It's not the same culture, I don't think. And
you know, so many ways it's
that's
not.
hard to cope with at times.
Right.
I mean, you know, and even in our support systems, like, you know, a lot of churches still haven't opened.
Right.
And they were about to open like the beginning of July, and now, we're staying online again for longer.
Right.
And like, so, you know, people have been looking forward to this date, you know, for a long time for a lot of places, and now it's pushed back. And
yeah, and they're saying, you know, be careful, don't be opening
I've
everything
literally
up.
had 4 cruises canceled.
4 cruises.
4 at this time.
Well, now, see, that's alarming to me that you had already planned 4.
Well, I wouldn't have taken all 4. The first 2 was canceled. Then I booked 2 more.
Okay, now we're back.
We're back.
Sorry, guys. There's technical issues going on. So, Tommy, don't worry. Don't stress yourself over YouTube. We've got Facebook going, so we're good.
Sure.
Sorry for that little blurb. You know, but that's also, I mean, we've had some technical issues. We've had some technical issues at church when we're doing Zoom, and there's things that have happened that are difficult, you know?
Very. I mean, even with therapy and having some patients using the telehealth
yeah,
and the
telehealth.
technology.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Like it's frustrating to work in this.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. Yeah.
It is, yes.
Lots more challenges with a lot more effort, which makes us feel a lot more tired.
Yeah.
You know, anytime we're going through change, like it takes our brain a lot more energy to work to do the normal things of life.
That's interesting. You say we're more tired.
Yes, we are.
Because I've noticed that. Because I'm usually gung-ho all day, 12 hours, no big deal. Without naps or anything like that. But I have noticed that mid-afternoon now, I'm kind of like, man, I want to sit down for a while, which is not like me. That's, you know, it's not like
I
me.
do know that's exactly like you. I mean, I know there
No,
are Monday
not like
mornings.
me.
I literally wake up And I'm like, I can't wait for 7 o'clock on Friday so I can go to bed.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Monday morning, and you're looking forward to Friday night at 7. Man, yeah.
But it does.
It tells you have a great social life.
I do. Friday night at 7, I'm asleep. The sun is still out right now in the summer. So, yeah, my kids make total fun of me.
So this is not something that means we're ill.
No.
And I had convinced myself, no, I'm not ill. I don't have any symptoms, nothing like that. I just sometimes get this tiredness that I'm not used to.
And you're getting that tiredness because we're coping with so much change.
Yeah.
Day in and day out, sometimes minute by minute. Sometimes we are, get a little warning. Sometimes we're not getting any warning. And it takes our brain more energy to do those things that are normal, because our normal routine, which kind of puts our brain into like, cruise control kind of thing.
Sure,
Like it doesn't
sure.
have to work as hard.
Yeah.
Because it knows it's routine. It knows when it's
Well,
doing this
yeah,
and how we do
exactly.
that. And when that gets mixed up, we can't be in cruise control anymore.
Right.
And now it takes so much more mental and emotional and physical effort to do everyday things.
I agree with that. That's point well taken. But I also think that because we had all kind of geared ourselves up for things are getting better.
Yes.
Like, hallelujah, let's have a party. We're going to be opening things up. And now they're talking about shutting things down again.
Sure. And I remember just a few weeks ago when Walt Disney World announced their opening date,
Oh,
everyone's
yeah.
like, okay, that means life is back.
Right.
When Disney World is
Disney
back,
World's
life
back,
is back.
right.
And it's not.
Oh, they've changed that?
I don't know if they're changing their dates. I don't know what they're doing, but no, life isn't really back because now we are kind of taking
Well,
steps
it's the same with
backwards.
baseball, which you and I talk about a lot because we love it and we love to go to the games. And yeah, maybe 60 games, maybe not, maybe 1, maybe 2, and then who knows? I mean, we still don't know the outcome of that,
No.
nor football season or any of that stuff. So, I think until we get treatments, vaccines, etc., we're going to be kind of like this, on again, off again. That's just my opinion. I'm not.
I
I started to say
definitely
I'm not a doctor, but you and I
play one
both-
on the radio.
yeah, you and I both know I play one. Yeah, but go ahead with that.
No, but you're so right. Like, and that's just it, the lack of predictability. And
Right.
I think, each time we kind of get a little closer or things start to feel a little normal, it's like the rug kind of gets ripped out of us. And now it's
Okay, so what does that do to us psychologically and emotionally, doctor? You are
Shakes
the
us
doctor. So
up.
what does it do to us?
it totally shakes us up. It shakes us up emotionally and physically and mentally and cognitively. And so, like, we start getting super distractible or irritable, or we can't remember or focus or concentrate, or like it's just messing with our whole
Okay.
lives.
You and I have talked about on this show different times when the time changes twice a year here. Mm-hmm. And it seems like it takes us about a week to acclimate to that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So if we have a hard time with something as benign as the time goes an hour ahead or an hour behind, which is really no big deal, right?
Right.
I mean, our form of life, our lifestyle, none of that's changed.
None of that changes. The pattern that which you do things, you still wake and
You
have the same
still-
routine.
right.
Everything stays the
So,
same.
and we still get bent out of shape with time change, right?
I mean, so bent out of shape, there's actually groups of people trying to get legislation in Florida to stop time from changing.
right.
Right? It's true.
And it does start getting light now, like a little before 6. That's
Yes, it
pretty
does.
early,
I know.
right?
When I'm at the gas station in the morning before there's any light, that's really early.
That's really early. And so if we have trouble with that, no wonder. I guess what I'm trying to say is people, cut yourself some slack.
Give yourself a break. Yes.
Give yourself a break. And I realized that today because today's been a hard day for me in a lot of ways, just a lot of stuff going on at once. And I thought, calm down, give yourself a break, go sit down.
Yes. Good.
Quit doing this, and this, and trying to get everything to fall in the line. Because sometimes it just doesn't.
True. And sometimes, we just need that break because, it helps us, first of all, it helps us with the physical, emotional, mental, and cognitive exhaustion we feel, but it can give us perspective.
It does.
It can, so it can help change our ability to solve a problem that we're just feeling like we're hitting the wall with, and
Oh,
we're
yeah.
trying to force our way through concrete wall, and we're like, why is this so difficult? And a lot, and you bring up a good point. You had a lot going on. So multitasking, which you're amazing multitasker, probably one of the best I know.
I don't think that, but I do.
But when you're
multitask.
going through change like that, we lose that ability to multitask to the same level that
Do
we're
we?
accustomed
Okay.
to. So
Okay.
now it's frustrating when you're putting in double, triple the effort and you're getting a quarter of the results
Right.
or half of the results.
And so we have to look for those things when we're going through difficult times, those things that ground us,
Yes.
right? Like electrically, you have to have a ground on wires, right?
Yes.
And you know that your son's an electrician, correct?
Yes.
Well, one of the grounding things for me this week is spending every morning with my 6-year-old twin granddaughters. And it's like playing in the water with them at the beach and just not thinking about a deal, not thinking about a sermon, not thinking about anything else. That has really helped me this week, actually.
Wow.
It has. Just being there, playing in the water with them, getting soaked by them with these blaster guns and all of that. But I mean, my point is simply that when we are under this level of stress, we have to allow ourselves time to play. That's my point.
Absolutely. And you're right. That downtime, that play time, that is so healing and restorative
It
for
is.
us.
It is. And seeing them just enjoy the water and looking for shells. Simple things like let's look for shells, you know?
Oh, there's nothing like exploring the world through little kids' eyes, too.
Right, exactly. So take that point and run with that, doctor, because I think that will help us as we evaluate how we're coping with change in our lives. Are we taking any time for things like that?
Sure. And that definitely makes a huge difference on how we cope through change.
Right.
When we stop and take those little breaks and do the little fun things, if it's go playing with your grandkids or going to the beach, or I had someone tell me today, I just laid on my bed and watched the ceiling fan and just kind of, but it was really therapeutic because they stopped
therapeutic.
for a few minutes and just watched the ceiling fan, but it grounded them in the moment. And then they started like imagining they were on, a mountain but it was really
So
good.
they went into their imagination then.
They kind of stopped.
That's really cute, though. I think
is
that's
cute.
great because, hey, if it takes a ceiling fan, hey, whatever. My baby grandson, little Reese, he's 5 months old. He loves to watch the ceiling fan.
Well, there's actually something quite soothing in that,
He can calm
that
down.
fan.
Just show him a ceiling fan.
Sure, it's very soothing.
So
It really has a soothing
gonna
quality.
have to try that.
But the fact the person recognized, like, hey, I'm having a tough moment.
Yes.
I'm going to stop and just go. And they're working from home. So, like,
Sure.
it's always a struggle to separate work and home when you're
Right.
working in your
Yeah.
home. And I'm going to stop and just go lay and just lay for a minute. I think the purpose was really to lay, but when you lay flat and you notice your ceiling fan, I think you're right, it's cute. But those are the grounding things we need to do. If it's a walk, if it's making a fun dessert, if it's, get some fun in your life,
Get some
no matter
fun
what
in
it
your
is.
life. Last week we talked about it, and if you guys missed it, you need to go back here on tantalknetwork.com. Go to the last 3 shows on coping with change, because last week we talked about strategies for coping, and these were, aggressive things we talked about because of the stress and having a routine and healthy eating and all that. I want to propose that one of the best things we can do is just live in the moment.
Living in the moment is the best, absolute best thing we can do right
Talk
now when
about
we're
that.
coping with change.
What's that mean?
Well, when we're living the moment, we are in the here and now. We are experiencing things as live. Like, we're not thinking about something we should have done, or we did do, or we didn't do, or who said what. We're not thinking about what's going to happen in 10 minutes from now, or 30 minutes, or a day, or a week. We are in this moment. And when you just stop and just let yourself sit in this moment, it is so healing.
To the person out there who says, I don't know what that means, how do I do that? Can you be more specific, Dr. Angel?
Sure. So staying in this moment is paying attention on purpose.
Okay.
To
Paying attention on purpose.
On purpose to this moment. So, like, it can be something as simple as just kind of sitting and closing your eyes and, like, feeling your you're breathing. It can be taking that shower and really paying attention to what it feels like as the water drops over your skin. Like most of the time we're in the shower and our mind's anywhere but the shower.
In and out, yeah.
Or when we're driving, right? Our mind is anywhere but really where we are driving because we're thinking about a million miles ahead or something behind us or, you know, in our lives.
Sometimes we don't remember how we got to where we were driving to.
All the time. And that's mindless. That's the opposite of what staying in the moment. That's like totally out of the moment. And so it's going for a walk and feeling the pavement under your feet or the wind on your skin. Like that's staying in the moment.
Don't you think that that's what we're really meant to do as humans?
Yes, we are.
We are to be grounded. Back to that word. That's the word.
Well, because staying in the moment is what grounds you.
Yes.
Grounded. Because it's grounded means I'm bringing you right to reality now, here.
And reality right now is that we don't know from one day to the next. This may come as shocking news, folks, but we don't know from one day to the next if we're going to be required to wear a mask, like what happened to you this morning when you went in to get coffee, right? And what happens to a lot of people right now, how is this affecting their interactions with friends, going to work, going back to work, not going back to work, whatever is it they're going to do?
Sure. And it every moment, and you're right, we really don't know. We really don't have control. But what we do have control over is how we respond to the change that we're in.
Okay.
Like it or not, we're in the change. And we're going to be in change for some time. Whatever that means to you, it can mean a whole lot. I think a lot of people are in different levels of change, different degrees of change, different, change in all kinds of ways. But we're all experiencing change.
And that's kind of the universal thing we're all going through, which kind of causes us to pause and think, I need a little more kindness coming towards me.
Yeah.
So therefore I need to be giving it out.
Exactly.
Right.
And that goes a long way, which kind of brings me back to my little gas station experience. I didn't realize this experience was as profound as it was today.
You know what? We never do. We're just going through our day and then we find out we're talking about it on the radio.
Exactly, right?
Which is bizarre, yes.
And so, I was walking up to the gas station and I noticed someone was walking up, but they were quite far away from the door. And I just went and held the door and they start rushing. I'm like, oh, no, take your time. It's fine. And I sat and held the door and they were just like, oh my gosh. Kindness, like thank you so much. You don't see this every day. And I'm like, wow, something simple. I didn't even think about it. It was just a natural instinct it made a big deal to that person.
We're going to talk more about that right after our break. We're going to talk more about kindness, and we're also going to talk more about coping with change that we're all going through right now and how we can help you tonight. If you want to call in and weigh in on this subject, feel free. 727-441-3000. This is Go Yard. Dr. Angel and me, Mama Mac, and we are...
Tan Talk, entertaining and informative radio for the Sunshine State.
Dr. Angel Falzoni specializes in a variety of therapeutic areas, including trauma, depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, stress management, self-esteem, interpersonal relationships, ADHD, behavioral addictions, as well as spirituality issues. A Florida native, she holds multiple degrees, including a bachelor's in education and philosophy, a master's of arts in professional counseling and marriage and family therapy, and a PhD in psychology. Dr. Angel is also a Florida licensed mental health counselor. She has worked with youth and adolescents for 14 plus years and has worked extensively in women's mental health for the past 6 years. She has worked in agencies providing mental health services to family and youth at high risk. Dr. Angel is an accomplished psychotherapist who works with children, teens, adults, couples, and families. Dr. Angel has advanced training and experience in working with LGBTQ specific individuals and issues. Dr. Angel can help you. Just call for an appointment at 727-501-6557 or online at drangelsdevelopment.com. Dr. Angel Falzoni, support for individuals, couples, and families. 727-501-6557.
Prompt professional service is what you will receive when you allow Marcia McAllister of Charles Rittenberg Realty to help find that perfect home or list your home for sale. With over 23 years of experience in the Tampa Bay area, you will enjoy a smooth transaction from start to finish. Call Marcia today at 727-417-0707. Now is a great time to buy or sell a home. Call Marcia McAllister at 727-417-0707.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
That's for you, Tommy. Don't worry about everything going on in there.
It's going to be all right.
Thank you.
You know, I'm engineering on Sunday shows. I always do the last few years. And I know it can be, sometimes you feel like you're being stretched every direction, but don't worry, we're good. We're good. This is a good topic. Everything's fine. We love you. You're very cute. So.
And I will second that.
All right. We were just talking about finishing up the series of Coping with Change, but we never know if we're really done with that topic.
Never know. But,
Right.
I do want to say, I picked that song really purposefully tonight because,
I love it. I love that
I
song.
think we just need that reminder.
Yeah.
Like, for me, when I hear that song, it's so grounding.
It's
'cause,
so
like,
fun.
it just takes me to an island and I'm on a beach and I'm
Yes,
just sitting and
yes.
hearing, like, I can hear it and feel it and
Yeah,
smell it when I hear that
right.
song.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We were just talking about acts of kindness. When we talk about all the change that we've all gone through, March, April, May, June now, 4 months for sure, with more coming up, it's time to kind of evaluate that, don't you think? And kind of look
Yes.
and see how we've changed. How has this change changed us?
Absolutely.
Right? Because the change has changed me.
It has.
It definitely has.
Yes. I think it's changed all of us. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse, maybe for a little in between on some things, but
Right.
we've all experienced. Yeah, we are all changed from this change.
Right, we are. And so, and a lot of things are, they're good for us.
Yes.
To come out of our comfort zone, perhaps. To do things a little differently than we're used to doing them, right? Or
Sure.
to stretch, learn new ways of communicating, to stay home. Do you know, because we've been a nation on the go, like forever, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm sure not all the population is a nation on the go. I'm just speaking for me and you. But anyway.
Yes, we are really on the go.
But I mean, seriously, I think a lot of families with young kids, some of my kids that have kids in sports and all that, they're on the go. So there's been a whole lot of staying home.
Yes. And it went
And
from
more to come.
Yeah, and some people literally went from 100 to like 0. Like literally, I mean, I've heard families, we did, multiple sports and Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts and church
Yes.
and this and that. We weren't home any night of the week, and now
Home all the time.
we're always home, right?
And there's an ad that's running right now about has your home become a classroom, workspace, all these things, a fitness center, your favorite restaurant, it's all those things.
It really has become all of those things. You're right. And, that's a lot of change in and of itself. And I mean, we could sit here all day listing everything that we've had to deal with and change since March.
Right.
Like, totally floors me that and it was funny. I had this conversation today. This year kind of feels like at 1 minute it's like sped by in warp speed, and sometimes it feels like it's been slower than a snail. And it's been this.
Have you experienced, and maybe some of our listeners have, that days seem to go? They take forever to get to evening.
Yes, it does feel like that. Like
they're just so long.
Yes.
I mean, I have seen that. I mean, it's just like. Yeah, and that's okay if you're staying busy, but if you're not staying busy, for people that are just the days have been dragging by. I've heard this from other people.
Oh, I've heard it from a lot of people, and like really, people's feeling of time has been very off, which throws everything off. I mean, we just talked about when the time changes, so like even our perception of the speed of time has been really off. And so, when we're going through, we are going to change. And ways we have to change to cope, and so looking at like evaluating like how has this changed me, like what have I grown through this, did I meet someone new through this, have I learned a new skill through this, did I just learn to reprioritize things, or I don't know, what did you learn?
Well, I think some of our audience probably have had more quiet time, so possibly more meditating, possibly more mindfulness.
More mindfulness. I've heard more people reading books. And getting back in touch with magazines. I feel like that's becoming a lost art these days too.
Right.
Like just finding hobbies and little things that just maybe things they once enjoyed and they just were too busy
to do it. Right.
Yes.
Take the dogs for a walk.
And really take the dogs for a walk, not one of those rush, hey, hurry up and, do your thing and run around
Actually,
and let's
take
go.
The dog for a walk.
Right. Really take the dog for a walk. And, we have changed, but what are some of the positives? Like, we want to just focus on how this is affecting us and how bad it is and how much we want it back the way life used to be, or, we focus on that negative and we sit in it.
And we sit and spin.
And we spin.
We were talking right before the break about kindness. And I have seen that in a lot of different people. I've seen it in traffic. I've seen it, and we've seen down here in Tampa Bay, there's a lot of traffic. So sometimes we see it in anger and traffic. But I also see the positive side where people are just, I think our speed is just kind of slowed.
It really is slowing down a little, which isn't a bad thing. I think we've been hyper driving our bodies. So, but like even for me, like I was the kind of person, like I literally live less than a half a mile to my nearest grocery store. So I wouldn't think twice about running the store multiple times during the week to, if I forgot this or needed this or changed my mind. Like I don't do that anymore.
No.
Like it's literally, I try to shop for like 3 weeks at a time when I can, because
I did too.
it's such a hassle to do it. So it's like I'm not going to just stop to the store for one thing.
So do you think, doctor, that in the patients you're seeing and the people you interact with, do you think there is an overall increased sensitivity to the needs of others through this or not?
I see there is an increased sensitivity toward the needs of others. I have seen a definite increase in just compassion towards people.
Okay.
I mean, of course, we've seen the other end. I mean, some people are, less patient and less compassionate, but there's definitely been an increase. Like, people do really think about other people a little more right now.
Right. I think so, too. I
really
think that's
feel
one
that.
of the good things that's come out of all this.
Absolutely. I mean, I've noticed like there's times where I have to rush in and like run a quick errand, and I'm obviously looking like I'm in a hurry because I'm sure my mind is in 100 places at that moment. And people will look at me and they'll be like, hey, you want to go ahead? And I'm like, I've never really experienced that a lot before all of this. I'm just saying, most people don't like say, hey, do you want to go ahead?
Right.
I noticed you only have a couple things, or you look like you're in a hurry. I'm fine. I don't have anywhere to be.
Right. So there is some of that going on.
Yeah, there is really some of that.
I think there is too. And people, hey, how are you doing? I've heard people say, how are you doing? Through, at the bank you have to have an appointment.
Oh, well, I did not. I haven't been to the bank yet, so in a long while.
I had to go last week for a work-related thing, so I had to get an appointment. and everything's locked up tighter in a drum, and outside you're standing 6 feet apart from the other people, and then when they come and unlock the door and then they lock you in, it's just a weird feeling.
I couldn't even imagine
And
that.
I was waiting on somebody else that had to meet me at the bank. And so the lady was the person we were waiting on was late. And so the teller or whatever she was, bank officer, she had to go take care of something. I said, "You want me to just unlock it when the person gets here?" She goes, "No, I have to unlock the door."
Wow.
And I thought, wow, we really have some weird things.
Yeah, like who would have ever like if we sat and had a conversation? I think in less than a year, like all these, like I don't think anyone in their wildest
To
imagination.
get an appointment to go to the bank.
To go to the bank, you'd have to wear facial covering to be inside public places. Like no one would have ever.
Well, no, it is, and I think when we talk like this, nitty gritty of look what has happened
Yes.
to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I go to pump gas and I'm trying to find something to hold on to before I can, and then I'm using hand sanitizer, and I just run that gas tank all the way to the end, and I don't go just
Right.
occasionally.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you
Only
go as
when I need to.
least often as you need to,
Yeah.
and that's just it. That definitely reprioritize what we do. But yeah, and the thing is, I think because we're in so much change and we're constantly having to change and mold or deal with it or fight it, whatever it is that we're doing with it, we don't realize how much we've changed inside. And I see it so much in the counseling office.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I'll have people come in and they'll just be like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, this week was so tough or hard," and they're just spilling how this week was so hard in one way, but in another way, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, do you see what you just did there? Like, you just used good boundaries, you just used good time management,
Yes.
you just reprioritized." Like, if we had this conversation a few months ago, you couldn't have done what you just did. And their like faces glow. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that was happening."
So our priorities are being rearranged, right?
Yes.
They are.
Absolutely. And when I literally today I pointed out at least in 5 different cases in the room, and the face is just like a light literally lit up inside them. Like, I didn't realize this was happening. Like, I'm growing through this.
Okay, so we're saying that there are positive things happening to us on the inside
Yes.
of our emotions, our minds, which are triggering, just triggering a lot of different responses. When you were talking about that, I wrote down the word surrender. Surrender. We want to stay in the moment, but we also want to surrender to the moment.
Yes.
Do you want to explain that?
Well-
'Cause, I mean, I'm not sure I can, but you can.
Okay. Well, thank you for your vote of confidence. I'm going to
I
accept
really
that and
can,
go with
but
the
I'm
challenge.
just kind of,
Yeah, you know.
to make you feel better.
I appreciate that. I need that. Just tease it. When we're surrendering, so like the opposite of surrender is fight, right? And so when we have change and we're fighting, we're not going to win the fight. It's an unwinnable
No.
war because
Yeah,
the
we
change is
can't.
happening where there's nothing any of us can
It
single-handedly do.
doesn't matter how much we protest and how much we kick and scream and I don't want to wear a mask. Well, now in our county last night, they said if you're going into a public place, you're wearing a mask.
Sure. And so you can fight, but you're just exhausting yourself, wasting your energy. Like you're
Right.
going to lose this battle. Like it's a
Right.
war you're losing. And so, or you can surrender, which means, okay, I don't like this is changing, but I'm going to accept and stay in that moment of where things are
Right.
today. I am surrendering. I am not focusing on tomorrow as much. I am right here today. What do I need today? Like surrender is when I don't like it. I can say I don't like it, or maybe I do like it. It doesn't matter. I can say how I feel about it, but I can still accept it and go with it.
Okay, so that's the key word here, acceptance.
Yes.
Right? Because in so many of these changes, people are fighting it internally. They're fighting it with complaining to people, at least
Or
especially
not
at the
complying
beginning,
and
or not
complaining,
complying,
or-
not
yes.
believing the
Yeah.
numbers.
I mean, just all, I mean, there's been so many responses, but yeah.
But when you get to a point where you're accepting, what does that do for you?
Well, first of all, when we start to accept something, we are letting go of all that energy we just wasted fighting, because that takes a lot of energy to fight. I mean, think about fighters in a rink and wrestling matches. They're not long events because it takes so much energy and strength, right?
Oh, that's
to do
true.
that.
Yeah.
So like,
Haven't you seen those great big fights boxing fights where they talk about it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and they just, and then it's over in 15 seconds.
Exactly. And people paid hundreds of dollars to watch this for like literally 15 seconds, 20 seconds. Because fighting it takes so much energy to fight.
So I'm going to say here, what we're talking about right now is fighting these changes versus acceptance.
Like versus accepting. So when we accept, that means we are conserving, we're not expending all that extra energy. And, when you're fighting, you're tense, right? When we fight, we tense up. You make a fist. Your muscles get ready to, like, get some impact. But when we stop fighting, we can relax. We can relax. We're letting go.
Letting go. Okay, so how do we know if we are fighting these things? What are some symptoms? Of course, we're doing this show right off the top of our heads,
We
people,
sure
like
are.
we always do. We call it Wing It Special. But anyway, how do you know if
We need to call it in the moment special. I like that better.
than Wing It Special? Okay. In the moment special. But how do we know when we are in a mode of fighting it that we need to change our mode, our or do you want to change the channel? What? That's not the word I'm looking for.
Sure.
Change the
And some of the things that tell us, like, we're in
attitudes.
this mode of fight, a lot of times when we're moving 100 miles per hour all the time and we're getting angry or frustrated or we're feeling all of our talk is negative, all of our talk is down, we don't really look to do things we once enjoy. We feel like we can't enjoy anything.
That we put everything in one box and we can't.
That doom and
the box
gloom.
is doom and gloom. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. And, and then,
Depression.
It does become depression over time, but when we're fighting it, sometimes we are just consuming all the media we can on it because we're getting ready for our fight. If it's, for it, against it, whatever we are, like we're supplying our ammunition going on. So a lot of times we get almost obsessive with what's going on.
Definitely.
Because in some crevice of our mind, I think we believe we can change it.
And that really does produce conspiracy theories,
Oh,
I
yes.
think, because people then think, it's all a lie, this isn't true, whatever,
There's
until
been so
people
many-
around them are dying.
Right.
So then
So
that
many
changes that.
conspiracy theories, and especially with what we're going through. But that's kind of how this goes because people are trying to make sense of it.
Right.
And so when we surrender, we don't have to know the logic
Right.
and what's going on all the time and make sense of it because we've surrendered and we're staying in the moment of it.
Boy, that'll preach.
And so
Because really, it's just the opposite of fighting it. We are just taking to a point, okay, this is going to last as long as it's going to last, right?
right. And today I know this is what I need to do, or this is what
I'm
I'm
doing
feeling,
today.
or this is what's going on. And so, there's one day this week, I had a long day. I've been working back to back sessions, and been very exhausted. And I came home and I was so exhausted. Honestly, I just wanted to eat dinner and go to bed. And I thought, I just had a really heavy day. And I threw on the most silliest, corniest comedy movie I could find on my subscription list and just watched it. And my kids were like, "Oh my gosh, not this one again!" But
That's good. No.
watched it, and it was so refreshing for
Laughing out loud
laughing and just
does
having
something
that
wonderful for you.
hour and 30 minutes just to kind of sit still and not have to think and concentrate and worry about. Just sit and watch a movie. But watch it.
Saw a text today that said Netflix is going to bring back the old movie Airplane. And I thought, okay, there's one where you just...
That's just a
it's
silly...
just dumb,
It's
silly.
yes.
But maybe what you're saying is it improves our attitude when we give in to the moment and relax, get our mind off of what's bothering us so much, quit talking about it, quit calling 15 friends, did you see this?
Right. And so that's really a great symptom. Like, what is your language? Like, what are you feeding? So when you're talking to the people closest to you, is it mostly negative or is it mostly, hey, positive or at least hopeful? Because that kind of
Right.
really tells us where we are. So when we're in the negative zone, we are definitely fighting it. And when we are having those hopeful conversations, we are definitely working in that acceptance mode. But
That's really good.
and I've heard conversation after conversation of people who are like, I'm looking now, like we're starting to get a little more evaluative because there is a little chunk of time and they're like, I I lost my job through this, and it really rattled my relationship and maybe changed things there, and I've had all this go on during all this.
You're not saying you're talking about one of your patients,
or
people in
just
general.
people in general. So they're
because everybody's worried about your job now.
No, my job is very secure. But they're saying like all this has happened to me because of COVID. But then they're like, but then I decided to start a new business.
Right.
And I've always wanted to do that.
Exactly.
And I would have never made that move had I wasn't like kicked out of the tree, so to speak, kicked out of the nest, right? But that's what we're looking for. Like, what is this kind of, because we're in the change zone, it's getting us out of that comfort zone now of where we were. And maybe we weren't happy in that comfort zone. Maybe we were miserable. Maybe we realized, like we were smothered by corporate America not having the creativity we wanted. Or maybe we realized, we were taking all of our family for granted and we do love and value them and want to really connect. Like whatever it is we're realizing through it, there's so much positive things.
That's really true.
An opportunity for us right now.
Your metaphor of the mother bird in a nest is very good, because she comes and feeds those babies, and they get crowded in there.
Yes, they do.
And you got to be thinking, I wish I could fly like Mom.
Sure.
And one day she goes, today's the day, and she just kicks them all out.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Flyer.
Fly or die.
Yes. I was thinking that too.
That's awful. Fly or die. We can call this show that. So anyway, that's terrible.
Sorry.
But it's true, right? And in this change stuff that we've been going on through, we've got to learn to fly in the midst of it. We've got to
We're getting kicked out of our nest.
we are getting kicked out of our comfort zone.
Yes. And there's a lot of good that can come from getting kicked out of your nest. I mean, when you think about a lot of the great things that we enjoy in life, or creative things, or companies or inventions, like they come from forcefully getting rooted out of the nest. Like
that's right.
That's what is an amazing thing. So this is an opportunity for you to
Not
really,
die.
To fly, but to fly differently, and it's
Right.
okay.
Right. Yes. And one of the blessings, and we've touched on it, is time with family and people around us. So we've had a little more time.
Yes, I mean, it has been.
Maybe
it
more
has
time
been.
to be creative too.
I even noticed too now when you go to a restaurant, the meals are a little slower,
Oh.
and they're not as rushed feeling. Where
Yeah.
there's always this kind of this rush to get you in, get you out. Not really like taking
Now
some
they
time
have so
between.
many empty tables. It
They do,
doesn't-
but there's still a slowdown to where the meal's at a nicer pace. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like it was so quick, and I'm like, wow, that was, fast. No, it was
Mm-hmm.
just kind of nice to sit back and have a leisure conversation while you're eating, and you're not feeling that rushed feeling around you, because it's not rushed around you.
Yeah, and that when we do that and we just adjust to where we are and live in the moment
Yes.
and enjoy the moment.
Just sit in the moment and be still. Like, just sit and watch a silly movie, or, go for a walk and really look at the leaves. Like, I'll tell you what, just when you are really paying attention, you will realize there's so much more than you've ever even noticed around you.
Right.
Like, just stay in this moment. If you can just stay in this moment for a few, minutes, an hour, 30 minutes every day, it will totally change you.
Well, I think that as we do that, in the Bible, it talks about meditating on God's word, right? And that's what we're talking about here. But if you're not in the Bible or anything like that, you can still meditate and become more mindful, right?
Yes,
You
and
can
stay
rest, stay in the moment. Right.
And whatever is that connects you. And we're all so different, so there's so many things that like kind of reconnect us. But tap into it. And if you're not sure what it is, it's a great time to start discovering those things that make you feel refueled. This show is one of those things for me. Like every
Oh, me too.
Thursday,
I
we
love
both
doing the
walk
show.
in the studio and we're just exhausted.
It's been a rough day for both of us today, and this has been fun, right?
And I've had a great time.
We
And I
just come
always
in.
leave just
Yeah.
energized.
Well, it's interacting with Tommy, see, because
is.
look how sweet he
It's-
is and how cute he is.
Have
And
fun for you.
but seriously, it's a matter of what we make out of our opportunities.
It sure is. And so here's the deal. The change is happening.
It's happening.
And it's going to continue to happen till well, change is always really happening anyway, but the, big changes are happening. And so we can fight it and just exhaust ourselves. We're fighting a war we'll never win. We're defeated in it. Or we can surrender it, let go, and accept it, and find
And-
all the opportunities.
And give up those conversations or thought patterns where you're going, I wish it was like it used to be. Because for now, probably for the next year or so, it's not going to be like it used to be. Quote
Sure.
unquote.
And it's okay. It's okay.
So I guess what we're trying to say tonight is evaluate the changes in your life. And for those of you that are still pretty upset and been out of shape over it, take some time to sit and just really think about what benefits have happened to you, right?
Yeah, like what good has come out of this? What is something positive? What is how have you grown? How is life different for you? But it's okay. Like look at those things. And I know sometimes it's hard to find it when you're like in the middle of all the change, and so sometimes you need another person to help point things out to you, and that's okay too. That's what we're
That's
here
why
for.
we do these shows. So, and that thing that will help you is to get out of your comfort zone. Like, if you're not leaving the house, go find a quiet spot somewhere in nature, at a park, all off by yourself. Stay 12 feet away from people, etc. But just changing your surroundings, I think. helps.
Changing your surroundings makes a big difference. Stepping outside in the sun, I know it's hot here, but even for a minute or two, really,
Yeah.
it makes a difference. And and if you're at home and you're doing everything home, compartmentalize what you do. Keep a workspace, a living space, a living space. Don't
that's
combine
good.
them, because then you're just so blurred and you just never feel like you can rest. And so,
That's a good point.
yeah, like separate things so it works, and it's the change we're in now. So let's accept it, and
Yeah.
let's be kind, and let's have compassion, and let's get
Get
outside
out-
the box.
Get out in nature if you can. If you
Yes.
can, because it's going to help you.
It is going to, and fly.
Fly instead of die. That's right.
Well, I wasn't going there, but I was saying fly because
Right.
that's it. We're flying.
That's the positive side of what we're trying to say. Instead of letting yourself get discouraged, defeated, depressed, anxious, I wish this, I wish that, I'm mad, I'm angry, everybody else, I'm going to take it out on them. That's the bad side of this change.
Yes.
And we want to evaluate our changes and say, I'm growing in this area, I'm changing in that area.
And be honest with ourselves.
So be more loving,
More
be
kind,
kinder.
compassionate, empathetic. Yes,
And that changes you.
it does, from the inside out.
So this has been part 4 of Coping with Change, and we think it's the last show on this series, and we'll start a new one here in a couple weeks. And so we just hope you have a great week, and we hope things turn out good for you, and you take time for yourself. Rest.
Yes.
And who are you anyway?
This has been Dr. Angel.
I never know. And Mama Mac, and we'll see you next week. God bless you.
Good night.